Honestly, you would be disgusted if you saw me get pierced. I turned 40, my knee just hurts constantly now. Oh yeah. I like your Velcro. I'm all about Velcro life. Oh dude. At the studio, every single cable is cable managed with Velcro. One of my piercers is Italian. Well, I'm Joeltron. I currently live in Perth, Australia, but I'm originally from Sydney, Australia. Inconveniently opposite sides of a big-ass country, and I own a studio at both locations, Stoneheart Body Art, which is in Sydney, and Opal Heart Piercing, which is in Perth. And I just turned 40, and it also happened to be my 20th year piercing when I turned 40, so I'm 50% piercer and 50% not piercer now. I kind of always liked different aesthetics and, you know, people, I guess, changing the way that their body works, not just how it looks. So like, you know, cutting your hair changes how you look, but dyeing your hair doesn't change the shape of your body. And I kind of liked changing the shape of your body more than anything. So I remember seeing like people with stretched ears and stuff like that and thought like, oh cool, like, you know, their shadow would look different, not just how they look. And that kind of sparked an interest. And then it wasn't for quite a few years, then I started to want to get piercings, and being very ADHD and very undiagnosed, I just researched the living shit out of every single aspect of it, and then ended up finding a bunch of piercers that I got along well with and that I spoke to about and got to the nitty-gritty, and then kind of figured out what I wanted to get done and made a bit of a list, and then got a couple done. Did a couple myself, realized there was a lot more to it than just shoving a hole through and putting in a bit of jewelry, but I still had a lot of passion for it. And then I started selling body jewelry, importing it and selling it because I knew a lot about the use cases and what sizes went where. And then that was always just kind of a side hustle while I did my normal work, which was computers and web design and nerdy crap. And then one day I did a website for a tattoo studio, and they asked who did my piercings, and I kind of didn't tell them. And then I met with them again, and they asked me again, and I didn't tell them. And then I met with them again after I kind of knew them a bit, and they were like, no, seriously, like, who did your work? And I told them I did it myself. And then they offered me an apprenticeship pretty much like that same week. The average day at Opal Heart would be, client would pre-book. Normally we book a couple months in advance. We normally have between 3 to 4 piercers on most days. And so as a client, I would come usually with a little bit of knowledge about the studio beforehand, kind of knowing what I was getting into and knowing briefly what I wanted to get done. But then I'd be shown all of the jewelry options by our front of house or the practitioner if they're available. We usually let our clients kind of have a bit of free reign of the store for a bit while they just kind of drool over different pieces that they like, and we kind of guide them around and kind of show them the different aesthetic options that would work. And then when it comes down to actually what they're getting done, usually, especially myself, I'll step in and kind of more curate to what they need, more so than what they want. So I'll kind of steer them in the right direction, or if they pick a particular piece of jewelry that they love and it won't work for what they want, I'll kind of like show them a better example placement for it. And then usually that works quite well because clients you know, have a lot of faith in you and you know what you're talking about, but when you have their best interest in mind, and we turn down a lot of stuff that we don't think would be viable, or if they pick jewelry that just won't work for that. And then once they've picked their dream jewelry and they've got a piercing that's going to be viable for it, they do all their paperwork, all of that stuff, which we make pretty chill. And then we take them into one of our 4 Sanrio themed piercing rooms. So I'm normally in the Hello Kitty room because it's Hello Kitty and she's cute. And then normally we kind of hang out, bit of banter in the room, talk about kittens and puppies and fun stuff. Then the piercing itself, which is obviously why they're there. But being an aseptic studio, we take a lot of pride in taking our time and explaining to them why we're using sterile gloves and why we're using this and that, and kind of, I guess, puts them a little bit at ease as well about what they're getting done. And then depending on the client, I'll either, have them chill out for a hot minute, or if they're a regular client, we'll go through aftercare a bit and kind of chat. And then normally when they leave, we like to take photos of a lot of our work, being that we're more hands-on with the clients and we're doing a lot of stuff that we really enjoy. So sometimes we'll take them into our, photo shoot area, take some cute photos. And then when they leave, depending on what we've done and depending on what type of clientele it is, we have a bunch of really dumb shit that we give them, little badges of honor that they can earn, little trinkets and just cute stuff. I'm all about using what works best. So I definitely use tools for a number of piercings that I find more comfortable. With big old sausage hands, it's hard to get into little nooks and crannies. But I definitely say that I would be more of a freehand piercer than a tool piercer. And I try to do techniques that don't require tools, partially because I'm lazy and I don't want to clean them. But usually it gives you more control. You have more tactile feedback from the tissue, you have more responsiveness, and you can usually be a bit smoother with it too. Because I'm a big fan of not pushing the needle through the skin, but guiding it and then pushing the tissue onto the needle, which generally speaking results in less inflammation and a better experience. But if I need a tool, I'm definitely going to use it. So yeah, in the middle. It's kind of like buying a wardrobe for your house. You've got to know what wall it's going to go on. You're going to need to know how much clothing they want to have in there. You're going to need to know how big the room is. So there's lots of aspects to it, but usually I try to pick jewelry that flows anatomically. So if I'm doing like an ear rim piercing, like a helix, I'll pick curved jewelry so it kind of like nuzzles into that shape and flows with it. And that gives you a big benefit of more surface area on the front, so it won't want to tilt or tip, and it also stops it from spinning, so you can get some really cool elaborate jewelry that will actually generally heal better than something that would just be a plain ball or something, kind of a little bit boring. But I'm all about making sure that it's going to heal correctly. So even if a client wants to drop coin on a really gorgeous, genuine stone piece, but it might reduce the chance of it being a successful piercing, I'll usually decline using it and encourage them to, put a deposit on it for later on, or, we'll tell them let's review that at the 2-month, when we do your downsize and see if that'll work on there then. But I'd say probably 8 out of 10 times if a client wants something that I don't think will work, I'll just tell them flat stick it won't work. And I'll show them examples either for the placement that they want of jewelry that will work, or I'll say, let me show you where this piece of jewelry wants to live, and I'll show them where it belongs. I mean, for myself, being a practitioner that prides themselves on full aseptic techniques, so I use sterile gloves, sterile gauze, sterile lubricant, sterile water. Everything that I'll touch you with once your skin is cleaned is going to be sterile. So for me, obviously, that's a big aspect of it. And that's something that I really pushed for personally, to be part of the AUPP, which is the Australasian United Professional Piercers. And that is a membership requirement now for the AUPP, which is pretty cool because it isn't something that every practitioner does. But for me, that aspect of it is quite important because it's much, much better to stop something from happening than it is to try to fix it once it's happened. So if you make a little mistake or the product that you're using isn't as clean as you assume that it is, then you have a serious problem, and it might take a lot more effort for your client to rectify that situation than it would have been to just use something that is cleaner or better or more designed for that in the first place. We personally only use NeilMed for our aftercare in the studio. I think it's a great product because it stays sterile, which is fantastic, and it doesn't have any BS in it, which is one thing that a lot of companies try to do to make their product stand out better. And I think a lot of practitioners also fall into that kind of spiral of thinking that more is more, when often less is more, keeping it simple. So one thing that we definitely see a lot of with a misconception is cleaning a piercing more makes it heal better. And it doesn't. That isn't how your immune system works. That isn't how skin cells regenerate. That's not how life is. It's like, you know, cleaning your car isn't going to make it go faster. You know, it's more about making sure that you're protecting the piercing from irritation, making sure that you're not knocking it and bumping it, and keeping it clean is a part of it, but it's not the primary thing that's going to make you heal quickly. So there's been a few things that I've proposed to be on the market, and a few have come to fruition, a few haven't. Definitely sterile saline that sprays little bits of confetti and glitter out would be pretty magical. That one unfortunately didn't make it past the R&D stage, but at some point I hope it can happen. Apparently there is vegan-friendly glitter seaweed that is degradable naturally, which you never know, could be a thing. The sterile saline wipes was something that I pushed for quite some time, and I'm really glad to see on the market, mostly for post-care of a piercing, so like immediately after the piercing as a way to soothe it for the client and to clean off any of the antimicrobials or even a little bit of blood on them. That's something that I think is just a fantastic product to use. And it's also good because you can be like, feel how smooth and soft this is. You can buy the same thing in a can to take home and use at home to clean your piercing. So I don't think that we necessarily sell more aftercare spray for that, but it is definitely something that I think helps the client and it soothes the piercing immediately, which is a good feeling because you're sitting there with a heartbeat coming out of your ear isn't pleasant. Sitting there with something nice and cool on it, radiating coolness through that tissue, feels really good. I mean, I find trends are something they come in and out of fashion, obviously. You know, someone sees something online or, you know, someone of fame gets a certain piercing or wears a certain piece of jewelry and then suddenly people come in and ask for it. That's always going to happen and it's always going to kind of rotate between different piercings. For us, I would say predominantly a lot of the stuff that we do are just piercings that are going to work. Like ones that are going to heal well on most people, ones that are going to be successful for most people, ones that people can, you know, elaborate with jewelry later on. So for me, septums are probably the number one that I always try to not necessarily encourage clients to get, but they're one of those piercings that are easy to heal. They are challenging as a practitioner to do well, which I like. They're easy to conceal. They're easy to change when they're healed, and the jewelry options are droolingly endless for them, which is what makes them my favorite. And I guess if I could see more people getting them done, I'd love that, but they are a relatively popular piercing as is, so most of our clients would already probably have it done already, like our regular clientele. So I guess what I'd like to see come back would be more weird-ass industrial projects. That's something that I think in the early 2000s really popped off, and a lot of practitioners were really getting kind of kooky with them and doing quite elaborate designs that wouldn't normally be seen in traditional jewelry or fashion. I really liked that. That was something that inspired me a lot to make my own jewelry and customize my own jewelry. So I wish that came back. And I wish that dumb surface shit would go away. Like people wanting stuff that just won't heal correctly, but they've seen a video of it, and for whatever reason, they think it's cool because they've seen a video of it. But the majority of our clientele understand it's more of a gimmick kind of piercing, and once we tell them, you know, why it's not a good idea, and then we encourage them to do something else that will probably work much better for them, you know, you can definitely persuade clients to agreeing with you that certain piercings are silly and not to get them done. Definitely, I personally am not a huge fan of the curation kind of, I guess, direction that some practitioners choose to go in. I like to definitely pick styles and themes, but I'm more of a show me what you like and let's start with that. And then as you keep coming back, let me show you other pieces of jewelry that will complement that and that will work with that and go with that flow. And if at a certain point during the client's journey they decide that they want to change the aesthetic of it, I'm obviously more than happy to sell them jewelry, but I also want to see that existing jewelry find a different home. So quite often I'll be like, look, I love that you dig that piece. That would fit really good here, but let's put that guy over here, maybe on the other ear or in a new piercing, and kind of get them to stay in love with the pieces that they've already got, rather than try to just like sell a whole ear worth of gold in one go. Everyone's nervous when they first get pierced. I don't care how tough you look or how much shit you've got done. I freak out before I get pierced. So like, it's like going on a roller coaster. You know, you want to do it, you line up, you know, you pay to be there, you're there. You sit down in the seat, and that's when you start having second guesses. And then when the bar locks you in, you're like, fuck this shit, I want off. But you know, as soon as the ride's done, you're gonna wanna line up for the next one. And you've just gotta kind of embrace it sometimes. You've just gotta think, you know, I want the end goal. I wanna take the ride, and if I've gotta get locked in a chair to do it, you've gotta get locked in a chair to do it. But for me, it's about the destination, not the journey. I do not like getting pierced. I don't like really any aspect of it, to be honest, and I'm a hella control freak, so people don't like piercing me either. I actually hit my friend in the head while he was piercing me because I was holding a hand mirror trying to see what he was doing, and like smacked him, and I was like, oh, so sorry. So don't do that, but know that if you've got a practitioner that you trust and that you can let your guard down a little bit with, you know, you're going to be in good hands, and you just got to kind of let them do their thing. And if they have your best interest in mind, they're going to try to make it as smooth and as seamless for you as possible. And it's going to suck, but you're going to love it afterwards. So sometimes you got to go through shit to enjoy something. I like looking in the mirror after getting a piercing done and being like, yes, that looks like it belongs on me. Like, that was meant to always be there. And why didn't I do that earlier? Because it's obviously so natural looking to me now. That part I love. Everything before that, not so much. The healing, I could go without it. I could definitely, you know, go and climb into a cave and hibernate for 3 months and come out with a healed piercing, and I'd be very, very happy for it. But I think it's just like anything. You have to, you know, you have to pay for the product. And for me, the pain getting it is the currency. So, you know, it's like buying a nice pair of shoes, and you don't want to spend the money, but you want the shoes enough that you don't care, that you just spend it. That's me getting pierced. So I love having the shoes, I love wearing them, I love showing them off. If someone asks me how much they cost, I'm going to tell them way too much. But was it worth it? Yeah. Ooh. Becoming a piercer these days is a lot harder than when I started. When I started, studios were advertising, we want a piercer, we want someone to come and learn. You know, I remember seeing in newspapers, you know, body piercers wanted, apply here, no experience needed. And these days, it's the polar opposite. You know, we get 5 to 10 applications a week, and we don't even have any jobs going. So it's pretty cutthroat out there. But I'd say number one thing would be research the living hell out of everything. Know why certain things are done, not just that they're done. So know why a certain cleaning product is used on a certain part of the body, as opposed to just that everybody uses this one product and that's why you should use it. So that aspect of it, I think you have to keep doing your whole career no matter what. So if you learn that from the beginning, it'll set you up for a lot more success. And try to find someone that you get along well with, that can teach you well, and has that same passion still. And that can be tricky to find, because you don't want to learn under someone who's on their way out the door, that they're just teaching a replacement, because they're not going to have the passion, they're not going to have the drive. And sure, they'll teach you how to pierce, but they won't teach you why you're doing it in that way. So yeah, learning from someone that you can connect with, and that's a lot easier said than done, but is one of the most important parts, I think. Least favorite piercing right now, like this very moment for me, would be a rook. and that's it's just an intricate little ear piercing that anatomically not many people have a really good ear for it, but you can still do it on someone that has an okay ear for it. But I only like doing them on people that have a really good ear for it. Well, they can book online, opalheart.com.au or stoneheart.com.au. You can find me online. Joeltron.com is literally my URL and my handle on social media, so pretty easy to find that way. Yeah, email me, message me, hit me up. I like hearing from people that enjoy this stuff. Even if you're not going to get work from me, I still like chatting about it. So, oh shit. So my life right now is kind of crap. It's shitty, but it's good. I have almost I don't want to call it a phoenix revival or rebirthing. It's definitely, when you hit rock bottom, there's only up to go, and I've bounced off the bottom and I'm on the way back up. So our Perth studio right now, we just finished renovating, finished building, I should say, and it is a monster in every aspect of a studio. It's huge, it's intimidating, it's gorgeous, it's wonderful, it's exciting and it's scary. So that's my primary goal right now, is to ensure that that continues on the same trajectory that it is. And with the crew that we've got, I definitely know that it will. But I would say that is currently pretty much my entire life at the moment.
That was awesome.
Sweet. Yeah.